What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back. Thank you for joining me once again for a Pokemon card auctions of the week recap. Folks, we, as always, have a lot of good stuff for you. A lot of amazing auctions, both vintage and modern. Even a Pikachu Illustrator card came by an auction. However, we'll also be looking at a decline, really, in certain extremely popular cards like the Umbreon VMAX and the Pikachu Van Gogh promo have lost a little bit of value this past week. We'll be going over all of that and more, so please stay tuned till the very end. Thank you so much for your support, folks. A quick shout out to today's auction recap sponsor. It is lowpopping.com, your source for investment-worthy Pokemon cards. Here on lowpopping.com, you will find a massive selection of high-end PSA, BGS, and CGC graded cards spanning across all generations of the Pokemon TCG. Just take a look at the selection of cards available, folks. You won't find a lineup like this anywhere else. This includes truly unique autographed cards, graded booster packs, and tons of sealed product. One of the absolute best things about lowpopping.com is if you don't have the cash on hand, you can easily trade for or make offers on just about anything you see. And they also offer worldwide shipping. So after this amazing auction recap, head over to lowpopping.com. A link to the website will be in the description of this video. Go check out what they have. I really appreciate your support. All right, folks, without further ado, let's start the auction recap, starting off with this Charmander Black Star promo from the Obsidian Flames Elite Trainer boxes. Have been doing phenomenally well. I got a few here just for the occasion. Here we have a PSA 10 copy that sold for $172.50. Another one that sold for $218. This was a card that was selling just a couple of months ago for like $120. And you get them out of these here standard Elite Trainer boxes of Obsidian Flames. However, the Pokemon Center version of this card hit a staggering price this week, selling for $1,612 as a PSA 10. It's a phenomenal promo, folks. It really is. It's just an S-tier illustration all the way, and the price just seems to keep going up and up for this card. Up next, we have a lot of 9 PSA 10 cards from the Scarlet and Violet 151 set. Pretty much all of the starters, including that Charizard EX, that sold for a grand total of $3,308. Not too shabby. Here we have the Eevee Black Star promo from the Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB. Sold as a PSA 10 for $830 this week. A couple other amazing modern sales. Here is the Magikarp and Wailord GX alt art from Team Up. Sold as a PSA 10 for $1,627. Here is that Umbreon and Darkrai GX Black Star promo that sold as a PSA 10 for $1,425. Along with this Gengar and Mimikyu GX alt art card from Team Up that sold for $2,275, also as a PSA 10. And then here we have the PSA 10 Latios GX alt art from Team Up as well that sold this week for $4,771, which is down just a little bit, as the past couple of weeks we've seen this card sell for over $5,000, but this is still a very healthy price for this card. However, a BGS 10 Pristine copy came by and it sold for $8,101 this week. And then here we saw another Black Label Charizard GX from Hidden Fates that sold for $4,050. Now on to the Umbreon VMAX in PSA 10. Has kind of staggered this week in terms of its auction sale prices. Now, if you recall, about a month ago, this card was hitting record prices, selling for $3,150. Here's another sale for $3,300 and another sale for $3,300. So this was the price, this was the ceiling price for this card. As you know, it just kept going up and up and up. We didn't know when it was going to stop. So about $3,300 seems to have been the ceiling. This past week, it has come down somewhat significantly. Here's a PSA 10 that sold for $2,550. Another one that sold for $2,400, all the way down to about $2,300. So is this card crashing? Is the sky falling? Must you sell it right now if you have one? Not exactly. This is definitely more of a market correction rather than a crash. as if you recall, back in late November, early December, this card was selling for $1,775. So it is still up a pretty significant amount from what it was back just 2 or 3 months ago. And then the same could be said with the Pikachu Van Gogh promo card, as a PSA 10 was selling just a month ago for about $828. Here's another sale for $860. So that was pretty much about as high as this card went in auction. However, in the past week, it has come down a bit. Here is a PSA 10 that sold for $700, another one for $670, another one for $660. So similar to the Umbreon VMAX, this card was selling a whole lot less 3 months ago. Here is a sale back in November for $385. So it is still up quite a bit from what it was. And the same goes for the CGC 10 Pristines. This card was selling as a Pristine 10 for over $1,000 just a month or so ago. And this week we saw a few of these cards come by. Here's one that sold for $766, another one for $770, all the way down to about $720. So PSA, CGC, they are both down a bit for this Pikachu Van Gogh promo. But like I said, this is more of a correction rather than a free fall. These are still staggering prices for these cards, considering how many are graded, so no need to panic quite yet, in my opinion. On to the vintage portion of the video, we saw this BGS 10 Pristine Japanese base set Charizard. Now, we always see the PSA 10s come by. Here is a BGS 10 that sold for $5,206. Here is a PSA 10 first edition base set Raichu that sold for $7,100 this week. Here is a first edition Korean base set Blastoise that sold as a PSA 10 for $4,827. You don't see these first edition base set holos come by in other languages very much, so I wanted to include it. Here we have a first edition Articuno from Fossil in PSA 10 that sold for $3,400 this week. By far the most expensive bird from Fossil set. Here is an unlimited Dark Blastoise from Team Rocket, sold as a PSA 10 for $1,375. We also saw this first edition Dark Slowbro from Team Rocket sell for $710, along with this first edition Dark Machamp that sold for $1,055 as a PSA 10. Here we have an unlimited Blaine's Charizard from Gym Challenge, got the CGC 10 Pristine grade, and sold for $1,691. And then here, folks, these are cards you never see come by as BGS 10s. Here is a first edition Blossom from Neo Genesis, got the BGS 10 Pristine grade and sold for an even $1,000, along with this first edition Metal Energy, also from Neo Genesis, that sold for $1,582. And this Metal Energy right here is one of the lowest pop cards from Neo Genesis. It's like right behind the Typhlosion 17 and the Slowking first edition holos. Up next, we saw a bunch of Ho-Oh cards from Neo Revelation come by in PSA 10. Here's one that sold for $2,751. Another one that sold for $2,605. And then we saw this very intriguing double holo error Ho-Oh card in PSA 10. This is an unlimited copy that sold for $5,400. Here we saw the unlimited Shining Charizard from Neo Destiny, got the NBA Gold Diamond stamp on there, I believe that's what it is, and sold for $4,150 this week. And then our last auction on eBay is a very disturbing one at that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of 6 booster boxes, and if you'll notice, this unlimited base set box sticks out like a sore thumb. Anyway, this lot sold, hopefully not paid for, but it sold for $14,790. And the reason I say I hope it's not paid for is because that unlimited base set box is fake. I won't go over the details on why it's fake. Just trust me, it's fake. I looked at it. It's got these telltale signs. And it's also very weird to see an unlimited base set box sold with a bunch of modern boxes. This is a box that you sell on its own, folks. You don't lump it in with a bunch of modern boxes, so yeah. So this, unfortunately, is a fake box, and I hope that this auction was not paid for. You gotta be careful out there, folks, especially with these resealed boxes. We're gonna finish off this recap with a couple of sales from Fanatics Collect. Here is a BGS 10 Pristine Charizard GX from Hidden Fates. We just saw the black label in the eBay recap. This one here sold for $900, and the same thing with the CGC 10 Pristine copy, also sold for $900, which is interesting because a PSA 10 copy of this card actually sells for more than this. So usually the BGS 10 goes for a bit more than the PSA example, but not in this case. Here we have a couple of black label Pikachus. Here is a 2010 German Heart Gold Soul Silver World Collection Pikachu card that sold for $1,200. Here is a Portuguese Pikachu that sold for $1,620. And then here is an English black label Heart Gold Soul Silver Pikachu card that sold for $2,070. Up next, we saw a first edition Flareon from Jungle in PSA 10 sell for $2,130. Here we have a Japanese Shining Mewtwo in PSA 10 that sold for $9,600. And we saw a couple of very expensive Japanese Gold Star cards. Here's a Japanese Gold Star Mew in PSA 10 that sold for $12,600, along with this Japanese Gold Star Rayquaza that sold for $13,800. Here we have a Gold Star Espeon from the Pop Series 5, sold for $13,800 as well. And then here is a Japanese Gold Star Charizard that sold for $16,200. Along with this English Gold Star Rayquaza that sold as a CGC 10 for $19,200. Here we have a PSA 10 2012 Japanese Black and White promo second place Victory Cup card that sold for an even $12,000. Here we have a BGS 9 Secret Super Battle prize card number 3 trainer that sold for $45,600. And then the auction of the week we got to give to the CGC 8 Pikachu Illustrator card that sold for $156,000. That's it for today's recap, folks. Please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I always look forward to hearing from you. And yeah, don't forget to go check out Low Popping. I appreciate your support, and I will catch you all in my next one.